Chapter 621, The Fifth Seal, Break. Tang Wuling raised an eyebrow. I'll deal with it. Yuan and Yui called behind him. She jumped up, her body swelling with strength. 4 soul rings appeared around her, both the third and the fourth shining bright. The young man in yellow was shocked to see that a giant with a height of more than 5 meters dropped from the sky, and fell directly on his tornado. Then, his tornado disappeared without a trace. Yuan and Yui's Diamond Titan and Devil Titan had extremely strong attack and defensive power. Then her right fist burst out, and with it an invisible pressure, the young man just barely managed to raise his fan to protect himself. Bang! Even Tang Wuling had to use Golden Dragon shocks the heavens to meet such a powerful air cannon head-on. The man in yellow was clearly not a power type. The air cannon empowered by Diamond Titan and Devil Titan sent the man flying backwards, breaking their formation. Tang Wuling, Shi, and Yu Xinglan took this window of opportunity and charged forward. Their opponents never stood a chance. Yue Zhengyu, Xu Shaoan, and Xu Lizzie stopped running. The match was over in a heartbeat. The young man had turned out to be just a 5-ring Soul King and not a one-word battle armor master, so he hadn't posed much of a challenge to Tang Wuling's team. But then again, it was not like one-word battle armor masters were that easy to run into. They had won their first match, but the pleasure seemed to have evaded Tang Wuling. He was a worrywart. The fear of losing to Long Yue was still hanging over him. I'm the captain. If I'm not strong enough to lead them to victory, then what good am I? He had made up his mind. Tang Wuling wasted no time in getting back to the hotel. After telling his friends he would skip lunch, he locked himself in his room. It's time. He heard a draconic roar echo from deep within himself. Tang Wuling closed his eyes and reversed the flow of his blood essence. His soul power fused with his blood essence and swept towards the seal, which was already covered in cracks. The seal broke almost immediately with a loud boom, releasing the energy of the Golden Dragon King. It fused with his flesh and blood, raging through his meridian channels. Between 49 days of torture, his martial soul second awakening, and breaking through to rank 40, his body had become much stronger. He felt bloated and painful, but nothing he could not tolerate. He didn't even use any spirit items to help him this time. He could clearly feel even the smallest changes in his body. The golden energy was strong and potent, with a touch of madness. It rushed around blindly, as if trying to break out. With the help of his blood essence, he managed to mix the energy with his blood. He used the mysterious heaven method, feeling the absorption of the energy as his soul power circulated several times quicker throughout his body. He wanted to become stronger. He had to become stronger. He had to win. His strong competitive spirit had turned into an unstoppable urge to fight. His eyes were wild with excitement, the pupils becoming slit, like those of a dragon. Golden veins sprang up all over his skin. Golden scales began appearing on his right hand, and then quickly spread across his right arm, shoulder, and torso. The spread slowed when the scales reached his left shoulder. The pain was totally bearable. Tang Wuling could feel everything inside of him being dyed a radiant gold by the energy of the Golden Dragon King. He could even feel Gold Song and Tyrant Dragon cheering. They were basically a part of him, so they also benefited every time he broke a seal. He knew well enough that Tyrant Dragon choosing to become his spirit soul was not because of his personal charisma, but because it was attracted to his Golden Dragon King bloodline. As the golden scales spread slowly past his left elbow, Tang Wuling could no longer stay calm. He had foreseen what might happen next. The soul power circulated faster, his body greedily gobbling up the golden energy. As the golden scales popped out, his skin felt itchy and a tingle, which had never happened in previous seal breakings. At last, the scales reached his left wrist and showed no sign of stopping. Pangs of agonizing pain started coming from his left hand. With a succession of creepy creaking sounds, his left hand enlarged, his meridian channels elongated, and bones started protruding from his skin and turning into a golden claw. He could feel his strength growing, yet it hurt so much. He felt his hand was being torn apart, but he gritted his teeth and endured the pain. Almost there. The Golden Dragon Claw had always been his trump card. If he had 2 trump cards, even if his left claw was just a normal Golden Dragon Claw and not a Golden Dragon Dreadclaw, he would be content, because even a normal Golden Dragon Claw had incredible attack and defense power. Besides, the increase in his bloodline power would dramatically improve his strength, speed, and survivability. Tang Wuling believed his defense power could compete with that of a one-word battle armor master. If the dragon scales could cover his whole body, he had decided to break his 5th seal when he heard Long Yue's arrogant laughter. Finally, the severe pain was gone, but the itch and tingle stayed. The skin was healing, and the scales were growing. Somehow he felt this Golden Dragon Claw was different. My right claw has a crushing effect. What about this one? They are not the same. The golden energy quieted down at last. Tang Wuling was now soaked in sweat. This seal breaking was the quickest and easiest, but his feeling was the clearest. Old Tang had said that the golden energy was a double-edged sword, but at least as of today, it had only brought him positive effects. He would never have gone this far without that energy, so he was more grateful than scared of it. Just like Long Yue had said, all he needed was time. As long as he could break the seals one by one without any incidents, he would surely become an incredibly strong soul master. It was already dark outside. Tang Wuling sprang out of bed, stripped off, and ran into the bathroom. He took a hot shower and washed himself clean. He was still a little exhausted, but he felt amazing. He clenched his left fist, feeling the strong power. What is the special effect of this Golden Dragon Claw? Tang Wuling walked to the wall. As he circulated his blood essence, scales covered his hands and 2 Golden Dragon Claws appeared. They nearly looked the same with their tips shining golden, only the right claw was larger, most likely due to the dust gold Dreadclaw bear's soul bone. He pushed his left claw into the wall. The wall would have been crushed to powder where it touched by the right claw, but when the left claw came in contact with the wall, cracks began to appear and quickly spread, and in the blink of an eye, the wall was covered in cracks. Is this Chapter 622, The Special Effect of the Left Claw. Tang Wuling jerked back his Golden Dragon Claw. It didn't take him long to figure out that his left claw's special effect was tearing. His right claw's talons were cone-shaped, but the ones on his left claw were sharp, like the fangs of a tiger. The left claw had a striking resemblance in appearance to the right one, but their special effects were widely different. They were both very powerful though. He would have roared like a lion, were he not in a hotel at this hour of the night. With golden scales clothing his chest, back, shoulders, and arms, he felt wonderfully strong. He was already looking forward to the changes brought forth by breaking the 6th seal. Once I break it, I think I'll have another golden blood essence soul ring. He brought the 2 claws together. When they met, there was a ding sound that was so refreshing, and with it a golden circle of light. The diamond-shaped scales stood up, razor-sharp tips pointing out. Tang Wuling brought the scales back down with his mind. What just happened? He reversed the flow of his blood essence, and immediately 2 golden soul rings appeared around him. He activated the Golden Dragon Body. Since he was naked, he had just taken a shower. He could have a good look at himself. The Golden Dragon Body could create scales to protect him as well, but those scales were not real. They were more like a layer of energy. Tang Wuling could even cover his face with those fake scales if he wanted. However, the scales brought about by absorbing the energy of the Golden Dragon King were genuine scales growing from his body. They were thick and solid. After he activated Golden Dragon Body, it was hard to tell which was which, but clearly the part covered by both the real scales and the fake ones was the strongest. He clashed the 2 claws together again, this time a little harder. He had deduced from his first experiment that his 2 claws wouldn't function on each other. Ding. Once more a golden circle of light appeared, enlarged, and faded. Tang Wuling saw more clearly this time. The scales sprang up again. It seemed he could use them to attack, like a hedgehog. The scales created by the Golden Dragon Body also stood up a little, but they were of little use except for providing protection. The ding sound was able to refresh him, making him more focused. It might not be a blood essence soul skill, but it was as good as a normal soul skill, if not better. Tang Wuling was euphoric. Looks like the Golden Dragon King bloodline is full of potential. The thought brought a big smile to his face. He lifted his claws up, looking at the spiral lines on the nails, feeling the tremendous strength inside them. It feels so good. Then he put his arms out to the sides. After a succession of cracking and popping sounds, his hands returned to normal. The scales retracted. Now his height was already comparable to that of an adult. It seemed he had become more shredded. 8-pack, muscled shoulders and back. Every muscle of his was beautiful, firm, and elastic, containing explosive power. His long and strong legs were a perfect work of art. Just you wait. Crazy long. I'll show you what I'm made of. After a few days of competition, the passion of Douluo City had been ignited. The elimination matches were cruel. For the soul masters who had been eliminated in the first round, the tournament was already over, and for those who were over 18 years old, this was the last time they got to participate in the Continental Young Elites tournament. Nobody wanted to leave, not even those whose fights had been over. They wanted to see the level of their peers power-wise. Ling Wuxi was one of them. He was filled with remorse for getting knocked out in the very first round. As a one-word battle armor master and a 5-ring soul king, He had planned to breach the top 32 in one-on-one combat. His teacher didn't come down hard on him, but he was well aware that the main reason for his defeat had been because he had taken his opponent too lightly. His explosive power and subsequent combos kept me too busy to launch a counterattack. If I had brought out the full capabilities of my battle armor, I'd probably win. After all, it can amplify my abilities, even though it's not a very powerful one-word battle armor. Damn it. If only I could go back in time. After several days of pain and discouragement, he had finally pulled himself together. After all, he was one of the few people who had become a one-word battle armor master at such a young age. His ability to handle frustration was superior to his peers. Stand straight and hold your head up high, he told himself. That kid is a power assault type. He has staggering attack and defense power, and sharp reflexes. I don't think all his opponents will take him lightly. I'm looking forward to seeing him get eliminated. Today would kick off the first day of the second round of the one-on-one battles. The first round had eliminated half of the competitors, so the second round would most likely end in 2 days. Ling Waxi came to the Great Star Dou Stadium early in the morning. Outside the stadium hung 16 huge screens, displaying the matchups. In order to ensure fairness, a special soul system was used to randomly match competitors up. Where is he? Ling Waxi thought, eyes sweeping over the screens. His name is Tang Wulin, if I remember correctly. His teacher had secured a ticket for him. After quite a while, he still hadn't found his name, as there were too many participants. Suddenly, something caused a ruckus in the crowd outside the stadium. On one screen, after a name, Ling Waxi saw a golden emblem. It was round, with a hideously enlarged mouth. Chapter 623, An Unlucky Streak. Ling Waxi's eyes went wide when he saw that symbol. Monster Academy. They sure know how to make their students feel special. A look of envy appeared on his face. Tang Wulin will definitely be crushed if his next opponent is a student from Monster Academy. The golden symbol had fired up the crowd. For people from the Douluo Empire, Monster Academy had always been their holy land, and always would be. The participants from Monster Academy didn't have to compete in the first round of the one-on-ones. It was an age-old privilege they had earned by delivering excellent results in each tournament. As Ling Waxi was lost in thought, he suddenly spotted what he had been searching for. The 163rd match. Sumu versus Tang Wulin. And next to Sumu's name stood a round golden symbol with a hideous mouth. What? As much as Ling Waxi hated Tang Wulin, he was thunderstruck. Talk about an unlucky streak. His first opponent was me, a one-word battle armor master, and now he has to face a student of Monster Academy. Each and every participant from Monster Academy is the strongest at their age, and this academy once took all the top 8 spots in a tournament. The students there are in a league of their own. Strong as I am, I'd stand no chance against them, not by a long shot. A malicious satisfaction was aroused in Ling Waxi. He almost felt sorry for Tang Wulin. Almost. Serves you right. I bet you won't even last 5 minutes. Due to the large number of contestants, there were several waiting areas. Tang Wulin was in one of them, and he saw what Ling Waxi had seen. She walked over to him and patted him on the shoulder with a sly smile. Captain, it turns out I was wronged all along. Tang Wulin did not understand. You were wronged. Yes. I always thought it was my jinxing mouth that always got us in trouble, and I felt so guilty and ashamed. But just now I realized I was wrong. Captain, it's you who is a bad luck magnet. What are the odds of running into a student of Monster Academy in the second round? 1 in 1,000? Tang Wulin bristled. Why, thank you for pointing that out. Don't feel bad about losing to him, Captain. He's much older, said Shishi. You were really lousy at cheering people up. Shishi. Yue's Heng, you said, pushing him away. Captain, I'm so sorry. We won't think any less of you just because you lose a match or two. You can rest assured of that. Yuan and Yui looked at Tang Wulin, shook her head, and didn't say anything. Yi Xingling was standing with her arms crossed. I wish I could have such a worthy opponent as well. Shu Lizzie grinned a big stupid grin and looked at his captain with compassion. Shu Shaoan smiled. Guys, have some faith in our captain. I believe he won't lose. Too badly. Tang Wulin was totally speechless. He turned to Gu Yue and smiled when she suddenly took hold of his arm. Come on, tell them I can do it. I'll pray for you, she said calmly. Tang Wulin's smile froze on his lips. He scowled at them. You don't believe your captain will win? He's a one-word battle armor master, captain, and not just any battle armor master. Wanna bet? Tang Wulin snorted. I'll bet all I have. Yue's Heng blurted. Are you sure? Tang Wulin said, looking at his burning eyes. Yue's Heng suddenly felt a lot less confident. I was just kidding, he said hurriedly. I'll never bet a friend that much. All right. If you lose, I want you to get me a certain 10,000-year spirit item. Yue's Heng was surprised. A 10,000-year spirit item? And if I win? If you win, I'll provide you with all the spirit alloys you need to make a two-word battle armor. Tang Wulin wasn't boasting. Being a 6th-rank blacksmith, he was unmistakably the best among the younger generation on both the Douluo continent and the Douluo continent. Yue's Heng might never have said it, but in his heart he believed there was a chance that Tang Wulin would become a divine blacksmith. As arrogant as he was, he recognized Tang Wulin as his captain, because he could tell Tang Wulin would go far. Deal. Yue's Heng laughed. She was a little tempted as well, but when he saw the excited look in Tang Wulin's eyes, he held back his urge. He had known him longer. He knew him better than Yue's Heng did. Come to think of it, he never bets when the odds are not in his favor. He has figured out how to defeat that one-word battle armor master. Perhaps he has. After all, he never ceases to amaze us. I should sit this bet out. Although Yuan and Yui didn't know Tang Wuling well, she knew Shishi. She figured there must be a reason why Shishi acted so abnormally, so she refrained from betting, despite the huge temptation of spirit alloys. The other teammates didn't care about betting. Since their armors were made of spirit alloys, I just need to add another metal to upgrade their armors to 2-word, thought Tang Wuling. Even if I have to buy that metal for all of them, it won't be much more expensive than a 10,000-year spirit item. The desire to win the bet will drive me to defeat Monster Academy. If I can't beat this Sumu, then how can I take on Long Yue, who must be much stronger? Wu Zhangkong didn't come here today. Tang Wuling didn't know if it was because he had confidence in them or because he had other matters to attend to. He sat down in a corner and began meditating. His match wouldn't be until noon. The second round started. Although the participants had thinned out, the ones that had made it here were stronger. The spectators were excited, even though the tickets prices had gone up. Some official gambling games had started. Since Monster Academy would compete today, it was another sign that this academy held great importance on the Douluo continent. One could place a bet on the students of Monster Academy or other students. Have you placed your bet yet? Will Monster Academy take all the top 8 spots again? Of course. I just placed a bet on them taking all the top 8 spots. They're simply unstoppable. Ha ha ha, you made a mistake. Her Highness is also a participant. Don't you remember? To be sure, she's talented, but she's young and just a 4-ring soulmaster. She doesn't have a complete set of one-word battle armor. I don't think she'll be able to make the top 8. That's where you're wrong, buddy. Her Highness will be choosing a groom after the tournament. She's a goddess. Her opponents would have to be pretty dumb not to let her win. Besides, her teammates will help her when they can. I think she'll definitely make the top 8 and probably even make the top 3. Chapter 624, Crazy Long's power. I see your point. While opinions were diverse, there was a growing consensus that all the top 8 spots would go to Monster Academy. Look, Crazy Long is getting on the stage. The last time I saw him was in the last tournament. He was 17 then. He won the one-on-one championship and got a soul bone. There's no way he'll lose. There he was, walking unhurriedly. His bald head was conspicuous, and they had arranged for him to fight on the stage in the middle of the stadium. In his scarlet uniform, he was no less bright than a ball of fire. His opponent was a girl in a long blue dress. Her beautiful eyes were shining with excitement as she looked at Long Yue. Brother Long Yue, it's a pleasure to meet you, the girl said, bowing her head to show respect. Long Yue smiled. The pleasure is all mine. I know it's rude, but would you mind letting me use all of my soul skills first? She asked pitifully. By all means, Long Yue replied, still smiling. The judge was shocked, but after considering Long Yue's power, he said nothing. You may begin, the judge said. And so Crazy Long's first match started. He stood with a smile on his face and didn't move, like he had promised. The girl gave a shout. Her 4 soul rings appeared, and the air around her was becoming thick with ice fog. An ice attribute martial soul. It was pretty impressive for a girl of 18 to have become a 4-ring soul master. As she released her martial soul, 4 icy blue pieces of battle armor flew out of her bracelet and enveloped her right arm and shoulder, head, and left arm. A full set of one-word battle armor normally consisted of 13 pieces, and she already had 4 at such a young age. Her pretty eyes were gleaming excitedly. As she pressed her hands together and her first soul ring started shining, an ice ball appeared and flew towards Long Yue. Empowered by her battle armor, the ice ball was about a foot in diameter, with strange patterns all over its surface. It It was giving out deep blue light. The girl raced after the ice ball right away. Her second soul ring lit up when she caught up with it. Then a blue ray of light appeared from her right palm, with which she touched the ice ball. The ice ball shook a little and suddenly expanded to twice its original size. The strange patterns had become clearer, as if containing a large amount of energy. Her third soul ring started to shine. All of this had happened in a heartbeat. She pressed her other hand on the ice ball. Sharp spines 3 feet long immediately shot out of the ball, which had turned deep blue with a diameter of over a meter. The temperature around the stage had dropped significantly. The girl stopped running and started dancing. As her fourth soul ring lit up, deep blue lights flew from her hands and reached the ball. All of a sudden, she disappeared. The huge ball accelerated and rushed towards Long Yue, its temperature overwhelmingly low. Long Yue just stood there and watched with a smile, not moving a muscle. The stages for one-on-one battles were not big, so in an instant the huge spiky ball was only inches away from him. The audience was becoming worried and uneasy, as even they could see the horror of the ball. Bang! The ball smashed into Long Yue, ice debris flying around, but Long Yue's smile never changed, as if he were a statue. The audience gaped at him in astonishment. The spines collapsed the moment they came into contact with Long Yue's body, and then the ice ball fell apart. It looked as if the ball had crashed into a mountain and not a human being. Suddenly, the girl reappeared, and immediately all the cold energy in the air gathered around her and turned into a small ice vortex spinning in her right palm. A sly and smug smile touched her lips. You underestimated me, Long Yue. Without releasing your martial soul and battle armor, even you can't withstand my icy palm. She was using that huge ice ball to create a diversion. This icy palm technique was her real ace in the hole. Her right hand had turned icy blue, and it shot out. She hesitated a moment and changed her target from his left chest to his right. Her hand hit his chest with a dull thud. Long Yue didn't move, neither did the girl. She had directed all her soul power in her right hand. It was her most powerful technique. She believed she could freeze anything with her hand. Yet Long Yue didn't seem to be affected at all. He cocked his head to one side, still smiling. You done? The girl was struck dumb. She looked at Long Yue up and down. What the hell just happened? This is not possible. He should have become an ice sculpture. You could have hit me on my left chest, but you didn't. You're a nice girl. Now yield, Long Yue said, and touched her head. The girl in blue looked up at him, confused. She still hadn't figured out where all that highly condensed cold energy had gone. She could have sworn it had all gone into his body. There's no way he has absorbed it all. It's here. Long Yue tilted his head back and opened his mouth. An icy blue stream of air spewed out. The temperature around them dropped dramatically again. Now that the girl had seen the huge difference between their power, she bowed again. I yield. The audience broke into rapturous applause. Long Yue's match had been broadcasted on most of the screens. He had given them a brilliant performance by doing nothing. They were impressed by his gentlemanly behavior as well as his power. They were shouting his name. Long Yue waved at them and got off the stage. Tang Wulin's team was shocked except for Tang Wulin, who was still sitting in their waiting area meditating. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. They thought the girl's trump card could have even done a number on a 5-ring Soul King. Chapter 625, Fox King, Sumu. Yet Long Yue countered her technique without even using his martial soul. He must be a defense type, Dou Yue said, thoughtful. Yi Xingling nodded her agreement. Only a defense type could have done what he did that easily. And he's probably a 6-ring Soul Emperor. As well renowned as Shrek Academy was, no one near Long Yue's age was a Soul Emperor. He was truly a prodigy not seen in 1,000 years. His powerful martial soul and high cultivation had undoubtedly placed unbearable pressure on them, depriving them of any hope. Dou Yue's eyes swept over her teammates. They all looked daunted except for her and Yi Xingling. Even Yuan and Yui's face showed no sign of confidence. He's sure it's a formidable adversary, Dou Yue said, but I'm not ready to give up yet. Are you? No. Yuan and Yui replied. We represent Shrek Academy. Dou Yue continued. It's all our duty to defend its honor. Wulin has resolved to defeat Long Yue. We need to do our part as well. Let's prove to them that Shrek Academy is the #1 academy on the whole planet. The fear in their eyes was gone, replaced by courage and determination. They had faced worse odds and won. For students of Shrek Academy, stress was always a powerful motivator. Their teachers had trained their minds as well as their bodies. The name Shrek Academy was enough to boost their confidence. For Shrek Academy, Tang Wulin rose to his feet and extended his right hand, his eyes shining golden with excitement. Dou Yue placed her hand on top of his, and the others quickly followed. For Shrek Academy, they had come here to have some fun, but now that their competitive nature had gotten in the way of fun, it was time to put their game faces on. They had but one objective, to win the tournament. The one-on-one battles continued. Long Yue's match had totally fired up the audience, who were cheering and applauding. I overheard your inspirational speech. Thank you, Dou Yue, Tang Wulin said to Dou Yue after the other teammates had left to compete. That earned him a smile. No thanks are necessary, said Dou Yue. I did it for our academy, not for you. Our academy's honor is at stake here. We must win. Tang Wulin clenched his fist. Be careful. Our adversaries are strong. Tang Wulin nodded with a smile. I will. Since it was just the preliminaries, the opponents of Tang Wulin's teammates were not very strong. They all made it to the 3rd round without any surprises. The time had finally come for Tang Wulin, whose luck had hit rock bottom, to fight Monster Academy. I'm so envious, brother Sumu, Dayuna said in another waiting area. Teach him a hard lesson for me, will you? And don't hold back. Sumu was an attractive young man like Dayuan, but he was mild and suave, unlike Dayuan, who always gave off the aura of a leader. Many outsiders had heard of Monster Academy's crazy Long, since he had made quite a name for himself, but the name Sumu was not that well known. However, it was still capable of striking fear into the hearts of the students of Monster Academy. Sumu, also known as the God of Sword, was one of the Monster 8 Kings. He ranked 3rd, after Long Yue and Dayuan, the 4th prince. In fact, his skills were on par with Dayuan's, who himself hadn't even seen his full power. Don't listen to her, Sumu. After all, your opponent is a delegate, Dayuan said, wrapping his arm around Sumu's shoulder. Sumu smiled. All right, I'll keep that in mind. If you'll excuse me, I have to get on the stage now. Dayuna watched him leave and then turned to her brother, confused. Why can't I shake this strange feeling that there is some chemistry between you two? 4th brother, are you in a relationship with him? People are talking, you know. Dayuan froze for an instant. Then he pinched her cheek. Are you seriously implying that I'm gay? Dayuna giggled. You're not. The way you look at brother Sumu said otherwise. You'll learn the reason later, Dayuan said impatiently. Yuna, don't say things in public that might endanger your 4th brother's chance of becoming the crown prince. Long Yue laughed. Sorry. She looked at Long Yue, and then at Dayuan. Are they trying to keep me out of the loop about their scheme? A confident smile appeared on Dayuan's face. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking up at the screen before him. He was convinced Sumu would win, just like he was convinced he would become the crown prince and then succeed to the throne. He was strong, and he had support from Monster Academy. He had every confidence that he could rule well. Elder Kai, I still don't think it's a good idea, Wu Zhangpong said with a puzzled frown, looking at Elder Kai in box 2 in the stadium. If an eagle wants to soar in the sky, it needs a storm to provide currents to lift it into heights it could not otherwise reach on its own. Elder Kai said, expressionless. But I fear this storm might be too fierce for them. The students of Monster Academy are older and much stronger. You know the spirit ice Douluo, who are Yuao, and you know he was one of the Shrek 7 monsters and the master of the Sea Gods Pavilion. But do you know how he did it? Wu Zhangpong was taken by surprise. When he was young, he and his friends went to take part in a tournament as substitutes for 7 older students to get some experience. Elder Kai continued. Unfortunately, the 7 older students got caught up in the blast caused by the self-destruct of an evil soul master and were put out of commission. Then the spirit ice Douluo and his friends stepped up at that crucial moment and took on opponents who were much older and stronger. Chapter 626. Monsters make history. As young as they were, their unwavering determination to fight for the honor of Shrek Academy got them through unimaginable challenges, said Elder Kai. Their relentless efforts paid off when they finally took the championship. Then, as a reward, the academy made them that generation's Shrek 7 monsters. She paused for a moment and asked, what's our school's motto? Shrek Academy only raises monsters, Wu Zhangpong answered. And monsters make history, said Elder Kai. Wu Zhangpong's eyes widened. Now he understood. Elder Kai stood up and went to the window to look down at the stages below. Their opponents are indeed surprisingly strong, but then again, what's a better way to reach your full potential than fighting with a worthy opponent? If they can secure a championship in the tournament, I'll nominate them for this generation's Shrek 7 monsters. Hearing this, even Wu Zhangpong couldn't keep his calm, but the rule says only inner court students. Elder Kai smiled. You don't really think they're here on an exchange trip, do you? They will be qualified for the inner court when they get back. This generation's Shrek 7 monsters has been up in the air for too long. The Pavilion Master is waiting for history-making candidates. Now is their chance. How far they can go is up to them. Their potential outweighs the results of the tournament. Tang Wuling stepped onto the stage slowly, his attention more focused with every step he took. Pressure could always stimulate the latent power of his body. Sumu was dressed in his red uniform, standing far away from Tang Wuling, his hair hanging loose behind his head. He looked relaxed and suave for his age. Then a serious look dawned on his face when he saw Tang Wuling. They eyed each other warily. The fact that Tang Wuling was a delegate and that he had defeated a one-word battle armor master the other day made Sumu take him seriously. The judge walked to the center of the stage, didn't bother with the rules, since they had been explained in the first round, and raised his right hand. Get ready. Begin, he declared, stealing a compassionate glance at Tang Wuling. He felt anyone fighting Monster Academy in the preliminaries deserved his compassion. Tang Wuling's eyes shone with a golden light right away. He stomped the ground with his left foot and shot forward. Sumu's lips curved in a faint smile. 5 soul rings appeared around him, all of them purple. He didn't have any 10,000-year soul rings, but still, Tang Wuling could sense he was very strong. Sumu's hair turned white in an instant, his ears growing larger and pointier. More amazingly, 5 long tails appeared, white and fluffy. Each one was longer than he was tall, and the tips of his hairs were faintly bluish-grey. Then his 5 purple rings flowed down to his tails, with each one around one tail, dyeing them a magnificent purple. He put his arms to the side slowly. His leftmost tail moved slightly, and a white ring of light appeared. As the ring sped towards Tang Wuling, it grew bigger and bigger. When it reached him, it was already over 15 meters in diameter. Without hesitation, Tang Wuling slashed at the white ring of light with his right golden dragon claw. Yet nothing happened. It didn't work. The white ring fell over him and landed on the ground. All of a sudden, Tang Wuling felt the air around him clinging to him like mud, slowing him down dramatically. This is a speed-reducing ring. Such a powerful area control skill is just his first soul skill. Tang Wuling frowned. Apparently he is a control-type soul master, and his control skills are probably the strongest in their group. He took a deep breath, his golden eyes shining brighter. He stomped the ground with his left foot again, faint golden light exploding from his foot when it smashed into the ground. His speed shot up. He was fighting the speed-reducing ring by brute force. He had to shorten the distance between them, as normally control-type soul masters were much easier to take down in close combat. Tang Wuling's explosive increase in speed didn't surprise Sumu at all. Smiling, he watched as Tang Wuling dashed towards the edge of the white ring, and moved his first tail again. A second speed-reducing ring appeared and fell over Tang Wuling right after he got out of the first one. Sumu strolled away from him, relaxed and calm. He was chipping away at Tang Wuling's soul power and strength. Unlike power-type soul masters, control-type soul masters usually won by wearing down their opponents. They enjoyed the feeling of controlling others. Tang Wuling looked grim. He can release these annoying rings so easily, and he can land them around you with great accuracy. It's going to be a tough fight. Then he suddenly stopped running. He stood there, staring at Sumu, the golden light around him growing faint. These speed-reducing rings won't hurt me. If I don't fight it, your plan of wearing me down will unravel. A surprised look flashed across Sumu's eyes. Few people could stay as calm as Tang Wuling when they were under his control. Even Long Yue defeated me by getting out of my control first. If it's an attack you want, then an attack you shall have. As his second tail moved, another ring of light shot out. Its color was red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. 7 colors in all. This dazzling ring was almost as large as the white ones. It was flying over Tang Wuling's head. Clearly Sumu was still controlling it, so even if he ran, Sumu would make sure he stood in the center of the ring when it fell on the ground. Tang Wuling didn't move. He decided to figure out his opponent's power first and then proceed from there. He was confident that a control-type soul master's attack wouldn't be powerful enough to break through his defenses. Tang Wuling was only a 4-ring soul master, but what he might lack in soul power, he made up for with a mysterious head and method and his blood essence. He couldn't have beaten Ling Wuxi, a one-word battle armor master, with his soul power alone. As soon as the colorful ring of light fell down, Tang Wuling suddenly felt his soul power being drawn out of his body. He was shocked. Crap, this ring is draining my soul power. Chapter 627, Soul Power Draining Technique. Tang Wuling's soul power was being drained slowly but surely from his body. He used the power of his blood essence to try to seal off his soul power right away, but still, a minimal amount was leaking out continuously. Sumu's eyes widened in surprise. He could clearly feel how fast his ring was draining its prey soul power. His soul power is dense and solid, which means his foundation is solid. Interesting. Now I get why even Crazy Long thinks highly of him. All Monster 8 Kings had nicknames, and Sumu's was Fox King. His martial soul was a 9-tailed fox, very rare and powerful. Foxes were one of the smartest animals, and 9-tailed foxes were a representation of wisdom. They were powerful and had a natural talent for sensing the natural energies in the air. Soul masters with a 9-tailed fox for a martial soul were rare as hen's teeth. Sumu's ancestors were natives of the Douluo continent, and his martial soul had once caused a sensation on the Douluo continent. Every time Sumu got a soul ring, he grew a tail, and he could get much stronger with more tails. Each tail meant one ability. Tang Wuling had guessed right. Sumu's control skills were indeed the strongest among the Monster 8 Kings. Diana was also a control-type soul master. She was one of the Monster 8 Kings, yet she was not quite qualified. After all, she was too young. That said, she was really talented and much stronger than her peers. Between her talent and her status as the princess, the old 8th member of the Monster 8 Kings had handed over his spot to her more than willingly. She was second only to Sumu in terms of control skills. Sumu's control techniques were very powerful. He had once fought a dozen soul masters his age and forced them to yield, because they had used up all their soul power and still hadn't so much as touched him. Tang Wuling decided he had to get out of this soul power draining ring as fast as he could. As he planted his feet sturdily, his first golden soul ring lit up, his muscles swelling, especially his arms. His hands twisted and transformed into a pair of golden dragon claws. He looked bigger and stronger, his aura becoming majestic and mighty. Not bad. Crazy Long thought, looking at the screen with interest. Are those dragon claws? A dragon's roar burst out of Tang Wuling's mouth. Golden scales rippled into existence across his whole body. Golden dragon body. He stomped the ground with his left foot and pounced forward. His golden dragon body had weakened the speed-reducing effect to the minimum. Now he was only a few steps away from the edge of the white ring. Sumu's feet moved faster, and then he started running around the edge of the stage, trying to keep as far away from Tang Wuling as he could. In the meantime, he released speed-reducing rings continuously without pausing. Tang Wuling gave a snort and reversed the flow of his blood essence. Immediately, his strength got amplified several times. The speed-reducing ring was effective, but not that effective. After all, it was just Sumu's first soul skill, and first soul skills were relatively weak. Although every step Tang Wuling was taking was still within a speed-reducing ring, he was gaining on Sumu. When he got close enough, he stomped on the ground and exploded forth like a cannonball. Sumu stopped running and looked at Tang Wuling, smiling his arrogant smile. When Tang Wuling was only a dozen meters away from him, the soul ring around Sumu's third tail lit up and another ring appeared, a dark green one with a radius of 5 meters. It didn't fly towards Tang Wuling this time, however, but landed directly around Sumu. By then, Tang Wuling had just arrived at the outer edge of the ring. What happened next could only be described as bizarre. The instant Tang Wuling shot into the dark green ring, he felt so dizzy and lightheaded that everything became a blur. Then he found himself being flung out by a tremendous mysterious force. He got sent flying backwards for several meters before landing on the ground and staggering to a halt. Sumu was still standing there, smiling, his dark green ring radiating queer light. What was that strange feeling when I went inside that ring? Tang Wuling wondered, shocked and curious. Could it be a repelling ring? Yes. It repelled me out like a magnet. It's the first time I've seen such a strange soul skill. Monster Academy really lives up to its name. This dark green ring was Sumu's most powerful defense technique. He was a good control-type soul master when he had 2 soul rings, but when he got his 3rd soul ring, he became a real badass. The repelling ring could repel anything that came into it, be it a tangible object or an intangible attack. Sumu smiled at Tang Wuling and moved his hand towards himself, giving him a look that said, "Come get me." Tang Wuling reared back his right hand and threw out his spirit-refined heavy silver hammer in a flash of light. The hammer zipped towards Sumu with a whistle, but as Tang Wuling had expected, the moment it entered the ring, it got repelled back and towards himself. Tang Wuling raised his hand and caught it, saying, "Impressive." Sumu's second tail moved slightly, and another soul power draining ring flew out and landed around Tang Wuling, greedily consuming his soul power. Tang Wuling stood still, using his golden dragon body to reduce the soul power getting out of his body. Think, Wuling, think. It seems that a repelling ring can repel anything, and this wily fox cow is inside his ring, which makes him untouchable. What can I do? Plan A, wait here until his soul power is completely depleted, and then take him down. Plan B, use more power to break through his defenses, since even the most powerful techniques have limits. Plan A is a bit unrealistic, as he is a 5-ring soul king. Judging from his refined control over his soul skills, it wouldn't be easy to deplete his soul power. Then that leaves me no choice but to go with Plan D. Tang Wulin's eyes narrowed, shining with brilliant light. He charged towards Sumu again, but stopped when he reached the edge of the troublesome ring. As he stomped on the ground with his left foot, 8 phantom dragons burst from below him. Golden dragon shakes the earth. Then the phantom dragons pushed him into the ring with violent force. Chapter 628, Sumu's power. As Tang Wulin had expected, the repulsive force had limits, and it got stronger the closer he got to Sumu. If he could overpower this force, Sumu's repelling ring would be useless. In a flash, the phantom dragons had pushed Tang Wulin 2 meters into the dark green ring. Although all he could see was a pale blur, he slashed with his golden dragon dreadclaw at the place where he sensed Sumu was standing. 5 dark gold beams of light burst forward, tearing through the air. For an instant, Tang Wulin's dizziness was gone, and he caught a shocked look on Sumu's face. Clearly he hadn't seen this coming. Tang Wulin took advantage of this split second and used his purple demon eye spiritual attack. His eyes flashing purple, pain seared Sumu's mind into oblivion, and he stumbled back a step. By then the 5 beams of light were already upon him. But suddenly, his 5 tails acted independently of his will. They jerked up and gathered in front of him just in time. Then Sumu's tails and the 5 dark gold beams of light collided with a boom. Tang Wulin had ventured further into the dark green ring this time, so the repulsive force was naturally stronger. He was sent flying over 20 meters before steadying himself on the stage. At the same time, Tang Wulin's attack sent Sumu flying a couple of dozen meters away before he crashed into the barrier and bounced off. But somehow he fell down slowly like a snowflake, and his big tails helped him steady himself when he hit the ground. Tang Wulin's face took on a grave expression. He met my golden dragon dreadclaw head on, and he's just a control type soulmaster without any armor on. Sumu looked pale. As he watched his hairs falling from his tails, his previous calm gave way to fury. There was nothing he cherished more than his tails. He didn't need to release his martial soul to make them appear. They were a part of his body. To a 9-tailed fox, nothing was more important than its tails. He had been saved from Tang Wulin's golden dragon dreadclaw, but at the cost of severe damage to his precious tails. Such gruesome power. Dai Yuan said to Long Yue, worried. He made the same decision as he did when you fought Sumu, boss. Although his power can't compete with yours, he made a good judgment call. I can't believe that Slash caused so much damage to his tails. They are as strong as normal battle armor. The interest in Long Yue's eyes grew stronger. 9-tailed foxes are much more frightening when angry. That's an opinion formed from my own experience. Let's see if the kid can withstand his fury. Sumu steadied himself and looked down at the hairs on the ground, his previously clear eyes darkening and reddening quickly, his tails growing longer and lashing furiously. The aura emanating from him had completely changed. Tang Wulin frowned as he looked at Sumu's blood-red eyes and his white tails, which had grown twice longer. Because of his golden dragon king's bloodline, he could tell that it was not Sumu's soul skills or martial soul that was emitting such strong pressure, but his bloodline. The fox dropped its false courtesy and bared its fangs. Suddenly, to Tang Wulin's astonishment, 5 rings shot out at the same time as Sumu moved his tails. He is using 5 soul skills all at once. That's impossible. I've never met anyone who is capable of doing such a thing before. Soul skills can only be used one after another. This must be attributed to his clear bloodline. Both Tang Wulin's teammates and Sumu's were watching with bated breath. The students of Monster Academy had seen Sumu in this state of fury before. When Sumu had fought Long Yue, Crazy Long had had to make some sacrifices to withstand this technique. In the end, Sumu had conceded. Looking at Tang Wulin, they wondered what he would do. The first ring of light was a speed-reducing ring, white. The second one was a soul power draining ring, 7-colored. The third one was a repelling ring, dark green. The fourth one was a soul-eating ring, black. The fifth one was a destructive ring, golden. Between the size of the 5 rings and their flying speed, it was impossible to outrun them under normal circumstances. The rings adjusted their positions in the air, overlapped, and then fell down. Tang Wulin looked grave as the rings fell. Yet, surprisingly, he didn't dodge. Actually, he didn't even move. He just let the rings fall around him and did nothing. Suddenly, Tang Wulin felt like his body was being torn apart. Even his golden dragon body could barely withstand the pain. The effect of the speed-reducing ring had doubled, and so had the effect of other rings. His soul power was being drained twice faster. The repelling ring didn't repel him this time, but made him feel so dazed and disoriented that even his soul power and blood essence were in chaos. Although it was just Sumu's third soul skill, it was really useful. The soul-eating ring was consuming Tang Wulin's soul. He felt like his spiritual power was being forced out of his body. The unbearable pain in his head made it impossible for him to think. The destructive ring was tearing violently at his body as if with so many invisible hands. Tang Wulin started shaking wildly despite himself. His clothes had been torn into shreds, revealing his lean and muscular body, the scales shining resplendently. He was fighting it with all his might, but still, a trace of white soul power was being separated from his body. There was even a faint trace of blood flowing out of him. Captain. She shouted, and was about to rush out, but Yuan and Yui grabbed his arm and stopped him. Although he always bickered with Tang Wulin, they had known each other for many years and were very close. Yui's face darkened, her fists clenched. Trust him. He must have a plan, or else he wouldn't have taken on the attack head on. The atmosphere in another waiting area was completely different. It's over. Dai Yuan said with a sigh of relief. That's what you get when you make Sumu angry. Hopefully his tails will heal up soon. Dai Yuna stared blankly at the screen. Watching Tang Wulin suffer, she didn't feel the pleasure of revenge. On the contrary, she found herself worrying about him. Long Yue frowned, thoughtful. The other members of Monster 8 Kings didn't even look at the screen anymore. Sumu was attacking Tang Wulin's body, spiritual power, and soul power all at once. To be sure, it was a terrifying technique. But, chapter 629, the suppression of Bloodline. Numerous golden lights burst out of Tang Wulin's body. The blood flow towards the edge of the ring came to a sudden halt as he stopped shaking. He tilted his head back and let out a draconic roar, which shook the arena. Tremendous pain. Yet it was nothing compared to the pain of breaking the seals. It was nothing compared to the pain of separating from his parents. It was nothing compared to the pain of 49 days of hellish training. His eyes had become a resplendent gold. He clashed his 2 golden dragon claws together. Ding! A golden circle of light appeared and broke the soul-eating ring into pieces. Then his scales sprang up and shot out dazzling golden lights, which crashed into the destructive ring and smashed it up. A draconic roar erupted from him again. He thrust both palms towards the sky and unleashed a gigantic phantom golden dragon head, whose jaws snapped open and tore the repelling ring into shreds. He took a stride, breaking the speed-reducing ring, and took another stride, destroying the soul power draining ring, emanating golden light. He looked as if he had been reborn. He strode towards Sumu, his steps firm and vigorous. Is that all you got? You gotta do better than that. Now, it's my turn. Sumu's eyes flashed with anger. He flicked his tails again, and another 5 rings shot out towards Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin didn't break stride. He clashed his claws, and golden lights in the phantom golden dragon head shattered all the rings to pieces once more. The students of Monster Academy were thunderstruck. What just happened? How did he do that? Nobody can break Sumu's rings like that. That's just impossible. A faint golden mist enveloped Tang Wulin, and at almost the same time, a blood-red mist appeared and shrouded Sumu. They were both very bright, but as Tang Wulin approached Sumu, the golden haze around him became brighter, but the red haze gradually dimmed. Sumu's bloodline has been suppressed. Long Yue exclaimed, this light showing on his face for the very first time. He wasn't able to sense their bloodlines from here, but he could see on the screen that Tang Wulin's bloodline had completely suppressed Sumu's. But Sumu has the 9-tailed fox bloodline in him. How can Tang Wulin possibly suppress that? Long Yue narrowed his eyes. He has a dragon bloodline. The dragon, a symbol of power and majesty, had once dominated the world. It could be said that all dragon bloodlines were powerful. Among them, the most powerful ones were related to the 9 dragon kings. Sumu's 9-tailed fox bloodline is undoubtedly one of the most powerful bloodlines, at least on the Douluo continent, Long Yue thought, but it's totally suppressed by Tang Wulin, even though he's younger and doesn't have as much soul power as Sumu. The only explanation is that he has a dragon bloodline. A dragon bloodline? An expression of panic dawned on Dai Yuan's face. If he has a dragon bloodline, then He looked anxiously at Sumu. As Tang Wuling got closer to Sumu, the collision between their two different bloodlines became fiercer. The golden light around Tang Wuling was becoming more intense, while Sumu's red mist was disappearing. Sumu had to use the power of his bloodline to activate his 5 soul skills at the same time, and Tang Wuling had sensed his bloodline when he took his attack head on. Then all he had done was clash his golden dragon claws together to activate the power of his bloodline to suppress Sumu's, because he was convinced his bloodline was of a higher tier. If the source of power for Sumu's trump card were not his bloodline, Tang Wuling might not have gained the upper hand so quickly. That was the benefit of possessing a high tier bloodline. Tang Wuling stopped about 30 meters from Sumu, his golden dragon claws shining keenly at his sides. Use your battle armor or you'll lose. Sumu regarded Tang Wuling coldly and shook his head. I'm 5 years older than you. My pride won't allow me to use my battle armor to defeat you. You won, because your bloodline is more powerful than mine. But when I fight beside my teammates, my pride won't get in the way. You'll see my battle armor when I fight you in the team battle. With that, he retracted his tails, his blood red eyes returning to normal. I concede, he said to the judge. Sumu's announcement caused an uproar in the audience. Who would have thought that Fox King Sumu, who ranked third in the Monster 8 Kings, would concede to a boy much younger than him? Some people chalked Sumu's defeat up to his pride. They believed Sumu would have been victorious if he had used his battle armor. Watching Sumu leave, Tang Wuling felt a wave of respect and admiration for him. He is an honorable man. He didn't lose. Then he raised his right hand, his claws shining splendidly. I won. Chapter 630, The Truth. Sumu's defeat had caused quite a ruckus in the audience. They couldn't bring themselves to accept the fact that Fox King Sumu, one of the Monster 8 Kings and the most powerful control-type Soul Master, was defeated by a boy from the Douluo continent. Sumu's calm had returned when he stepped into his waiting area. Daiyuan walked over to him the moment he saw him. Sumu, are you alright? Your tails. Sumu shook his head. I'll recover. Nothing serious, but I lost. I'm sorry, guys. Don't worry about that, and don't lose heart just because of one minor setback. Daiyuan said quickly. Leave the rest to us. You just focus on getting better. But why didn't you use your battle armor? I'm 5 years older than him. If I use my battle armor, I lose even if I win. Long Yue patted him on the shoulder. Stop acting like your injuries are nothing. Go back to your quarters and get some rest. Sumu froze for an instant and then nodded, taking his leave. If any of you loses because you underestimate your opponent, then don't bother coming back to the Monster 8 Kings again. Long Yue said, his voice deep and full of authority. Sumu's eyes fell. He saw why I didn't use my battle armor. After all, he's Long Yue. When Tang Wuling got back to his teammates, the ruckus had grown so loud that it could even be heard in the waiting area. He looked around and found all the contestants were staring at him as if he were a monster. Shishi rushed over to him and gave him a big hug. I can't believe you really did it, Captain. You blew my mind. Tang Wuling rolled his eyes. So you were expecting me to lose, weren't you? Then he turned to Yue Jianyue. Don't forget my 10,000-year spirit item. When did you become so strong? And where did your left golden dragon claw come from? Yue Jianyue asked, dejected. He didn't even use his battle armor, so I wouldn't say you defeated him. Does concede mean something different where you're from? Yue sneered. Do you really think he didn't want to use his battle armor because of his so-called pride? No, it's because he couldn't. Tang Wuling didn't understand. What do you mean? He underestimated you. It never crossed his arrogant mind that you might touch him. So when you caught him by surprise with your golden dragon dreadclaw, he had to use his tails to block your attack. In consequence, they got badly injured. I believe he needs his tails to wear his battle armor, and the injuries rendered them incapable of wearing it. His overconfidence cost him this match. He had no one to blame but himself. You won fair and square. Turns out I overestimated him. Tang Wuling thought, suddenly understanding. Maybe I'm a bad luck magnet, but I'm lucky that people always underestimate me. If Sumu had put on his battle armor from the beginning, I would use my blue silver emperor to fight him, but I might not have one so easily. Yue Jianyue lowered his head, depressed. A 10,000-year spirit item was too expensive even for him. We should leave now. Some people are really steaming that you won. Yuan and Yui warned. She was the oldest among them and thus the most mature. Yes, Tang Wuling agreed. Monster Academy is prestigious in the Douluo Empire. Sumu's defeat would be a blow to the people here. Then they wasted no time getting back to their hotel. After the second round of the one-on-one competition was over, Tang Wuling, Shishi, Yuan and Yue Jianyue, and Yue Xinglan had all advanced to the third round. Du Yue, Xu Xiaoan, and Xu Lizhi didn't participate in the one-on-one competition. By then word of Sumu's defeat had spread far and wide across Douluo City. They found it unacceptable, even if he hadn't used his battle armor, because he was one of the Monster 8 Kings. How did he manage to lose to someone weaker than him? It must be the greatest upset in this tournament. You can say that again. Sumu is the most powerful control type soul master in the Monster Academy, and his opponent is an assault type. It's easy for a control type to overcome a same level assault type. Everyone knows that. In the meantime, Sumu's opponent's name was spreading like wildfire throughout the whole Douluo continent. People here suddenly remembered Shrek Academy, the #1 academy on the Douluo continent. It was the first battle between the two academies, and the winner was the Shrek Academy. Some angry people chose to let off steam by hurling insults at the Shrek Academy and even attacking the Grand Douluo Hotel. The military had been called in to deal with the riot, but there were also people who kept their heads and were analyzing this match. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Continental Young Elites Tournament. I'm your commentator, Fonga. I want to take a few minutes and talk about the match between Sumu and Tang Wuling. I know many of you are upset about the result, but please calm down and show the people from the Douluo continent that we're a country of friendly and welcoming people. Fonga was a beautiful lady, and she had an important position among the Soul Masters on the Douluo continent, but that was not because she was a powerful Soul Master. In fact, she was not a Soul Master. She had no soul power. She was not even a Soul Guide Master. Yet she was fascinated by Soul Masters. She had dedicated her life to the relevant research. In over 10 years, she had taught herself all there was to learn about Soul Masters. She had a really deep understanding of Soul Masters, battle armor, and mechas, and she had written many dissertations, which had won unanimous praise from Soul Masters. Since she was really pretty and her commentary was always trenchant and perceptive, she quickly became a famous commentator across the Douluo Empire. At the age of 16, she commentated on her first Continental Young Elites Tournament and achieved great success and fame. Now, at the age of 22, she was commentating on her third Continental Young Elites Tournament. She was like a goddess to both Soul Masters and ordinary citizens. Fonga's voice immediately attracted a lot of people's attention. They looked up at the Soul screens. She was wearing a neat white suit. Her hair was tidy, her fair face was a little lean, and her eyes were sparkling. She had two cute dimples in her cheeks which appeared when she smiled. I'm sure you're wondering why Sumu lost his match, Fonga said solemnly. She always believed what she was doing was of great value, and she considered it her most important profession. Is his defeat accidental or inevitable? I have watched the replay 3 times. I can't say I caught every detail of the fight, but I'd like to share my thoughts with you. First of all, I want to remind you that this is just a tournament. Please stay calm and don't bring nationalism into it. And the other thing I want to clear up is that this is just my opinion, not an official statement. Then the replay of the match between Tang Wuling and Sumu started to show on the screens. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.